It's Thursday morning, and it's now time for Treasure Coast native attorney Travis Walker and Legal Off the Cuff from Travis Walker Law in Stewart. The opinions expressed are those of the show's host, not WSTU or Travis Walker Law. Now it's time for Legal Off the Cuff, definitely not your father's legal show. And here's Travis Walker.
Good morning. This is Travis Walker, an attorney here with the law offices of Travis R. Walker. You can always visit us at the website, traviswalkerlaw.com, or email me at traviswalker@traviswalkerlaw.com. If you like anything we're talking about today, feel free to call the office at 772-708-0952. Again, at 772-708-0952. We will do a free consultation if you mention this radio show and see if we can help guide you through some of the legal obstacles or perils that are in your life or a loved one's life. You can also call me here. We're here on for the next hour or so here at the WSTU studio. I'm here with Evan, and the phone number here is 220-WSTU. Again, that's 220-9788. If you have any questions, love to chat with you, give you the best direction that I possibly can without providing express legal opinions and creating an attorney-client conversation relationship. So, I always like to start off some of these discussions with regards to a product that's out there that's causing people a lot of issues. Roundup is a product that's creating a lot of issues for a lot of people. Unfortunately, Roundup, and it's still being sold, and it's used in a residential, commercial form, golf course form. But basically, it's glyphosate, which is one of the world's most widely used herbicide. And Roundup, like I said, is still on the shelves. There is ongoing litigation with regards to this this chemical and this carcinogen. This carcinogen really creates increases the studies are showing that this herbicide glyphosate, which is the main ingredient in Roundup, increases the risk of cancer called non-Hodgkin's lymphoma by 41%. And that was from the UW Department of Environmental and Occupational Health Sciences. So there's ongoing litigation. There's trials with regards to Roundup. If you or a loved one have been exposed to Roundup, especially on a continuous basis, and they have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma or have died from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, that may be a correlation or a result from this Roundup. And there's, like I said, there's trials, and there's thousands of people who've been working through that. Recently, Roundup, agreed to pay $10 billion to settle these cancer suits. And so there's definitely money out there. It's through Monsanto, which is a known, and Bayer, which is a known developer of these types of chemicals. So the pockets are there. And if you or a loved one have actually have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, or know someone who did or has passed away, unfortunately, from it, happy to chat with them with regards to potential recovery that are going on. So that's the product liability part of the show. Just wanted to open up with that. Also wanted to talk, unfortunately, because we do that work with people who's unfortunately their loved ones have passed away. We have 8 attorneys in our office. One of them, is specifically does the probate work and estate planning work, which is a big part of our practice. So unfortunately, when we do have to probate estates, because basically to allow for a lawsuit to happen, if there's a wrongful death action, or if someone's died from a product, you do have to open the estate to get that lawsuit moving. So that's important thing to be done, and we work often with accident attorneys and to open the estate so that someone can pursue that lawsuit. One of the things that when it comes to those estates is, like, people don't often recognize, is that there's something in Florida what we call an elective share. And so that's in Florida, there's a protection for a surviving spouse so that they don't get disinherited from a will. So basically in Florida, if you have, if you draft a will and you intentionally try to carve out your wife or your husband from the will while you're married to them, there is a protection in the law, what we call an elective share. And so at least 30% of the estate for the surviving spouse will actually go to the spouse, regardless of what's spelled out into the will, because of that law. You want to make sure the law provides that, if, say, for instance, a husband and wife were married for 50 years, they're in their 70s, and the husband dies, but he was just pissed at the wife or something at the time.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It has
It's right straightforward. I like that.
It is what it is.
That's why it's off the cuff.
It's off the
I
cuff.
like that. So in other words, you're telling me that I can cut my wife out. Well, no, I can attempt to cut my wife out.
You can attempt
of
to
my
cut your
will.
wife. Yeah.
Not that I would.
Not that you would, but
Okay.
so like say for instance, if whether you have a will or you don't have a will. So
Right.
if you don't have a will,
Right.
100% of your estate will go to your wife.
Okay.
Automatically. If you try to draft a will and you say no, 100% of everything I have is going to my daughter or to
Mhm.
my son or something like that, the law says no, you can't just like write your wife out of the will. You know,
It's like I'm like putting out a hit on my wife with an ink pen.
Exactly. It's like boom, bye.
See you later. You're done. Okay.
You like that? Bye. No, it's terrible. That's terrible. But that's the reality. I mean, like, some people, are spiteful and everything. And,
Right.
I guess some people don't believe in divorce.
Yeah.
So like they're like, okay, well, I don't believe in divorce, but so when I'm just a big fu to my wife or
Yeah.
something when after my passing or something.
Yeah.
So the law provides that at least 30% of that estate needs to go to her or him, depending upon who's surviving. So that's it's a big wake up call for people sometimes, because they think, hey, I'm going to write a will and I'm going to tell it exactly how it's going to be, and I'm going to write these people out, I'm going to write these people off, and then I'm going to move on with my move on into the nether. But yeah, I mean, like, you can't just write somebody off like that. So
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Good to know, right? Off the cuff, ready to go. So yes, I mean, and it is, and obviously the beneficiaries, like, it's like, hey, I've got dad to write this will that's writing mom out of the estate. I'm getting the house and everything else like that. And then it's a big wake up call for them as a beneficiary
Yeah.
to find out, hey, I thought I was getting the $500,000 house without a mortgage on it, but no, not in reality.
Yeah.
So
Then they all start fighting.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then then the wife is arguably entitled to what we call a life estate, which means that she's arguably entitled to live in that property while while she's alive.
Mhm.
And then the remaining part of the beneficiaries, all fight over it and everything. And then you get into will contests, which is where, like, people are, obviously the beneficiaries. And I'm dealing with one right now where there's multiple properties where they tried to have mom cut out, and there's obviously undue influence. That's a big part of it. We're seeing a lot of is because our technology and our medicine and our care has gotten so good, we're able to, the longevity of people is much longer than it used to be. The challenge then becomes is with aging, obviously a huge portion, my understanding is, like, off the cuff, a third of our population over the 80 has dementia or some sorts of Alzheimer's or something like that. So people are unfortunately being taken advantage of. They've owned their homes for decades and decades. They paid them off, so they have all this equity in the home. Then people take advantage of them, and take advantage of the estate and everything else like that. So, that's a huge part of our practice is will contests and trust contests where, someone says that the other side unduly influenced, or they were bedridden or had dementia or Alzheimer's, and were signing something they didn't fully understand. And, that's something we can help out with for sure.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Never knew that could exist. It's like when you die, it just becomes a hot mess. I mean, literally.
Yeah.
I don't mean to put it like that.
No, you're right.
But it's like one complete hot mess.
It is.
Wow.
And even to the extent, like, I have the handwritten wills from Staples or from LegalZoom or whatever else like that, and I give people a lot of credit for trying to get things done, and making an attempt to do it. And I understand, lawyers are expensive, and and sometimes it doesn't make sense to get them involved and everything. But at the same time, like, if you don't fully understand kind of how the machine is going to work after you've passed, then yeah, this huge hot mess can be created. That's a great way to term it.
Well, you won't have anything to worry about after you pass, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess, like, but like,
because you're going to be like burden free.
Yeah,
You'll be laying there.
Yeah, you're gone. You're in the infinite consciousness or whatever it is, and but I guess, like, some people they like to really spill out like a big fu to everybody. At the end, it's crazy. So
that's insane. I never heard of that before.
Yeah. So, I mean, if anyone has any questions about their wills, trusts, and estates, or they have a concern with regards to a will or a trust, and they're in they want to fight it or whatever, our office is happy to do a free consultation. If you mention this radio show, call us at 772-708-0952. Again, that's 772-708-0952. Visit us at traviswalkerlaw.com. Our main office is here in Stewart on US 1. We got 8 attorneys that practice in a number of different areas, and we have people who are that's what they do, is the estate planning and probate. So then if you have any questions while we're here on the air, 220-WSTU, 220-9788. Love to chat with you a little bit more, but yeah, so the elder law, the Medicaid trusts, the estate trusts, and that type of thing, big problems. And we get into challenges all the time where people are and again, the baby boomers are aging, and it's creating all kinds of situations.
What does an elderly person that's getting up there in age, what are some of the things that they should start to plan ahead for? Because a lot of people, they don't realize. I mean, I'm 62. I got a
Good.
ways to go.
You're doing good.
I got a long ways to go, but somebody that's like in their mid 70s, that's healthy,
Yes.
no issues or nothing like that, they should start their plan. In fact, you know what? Here's a good question.
Sure.
What is a good age for somebody to start planning for these types of things?
That's a great question.
In your humble opinion.
I mean, I think like a lot of it is, when you're in your late 50s or early 60s and you're starting to plan that transition into retirement.
Oh, I forgot to bring the tin can.
Yeah,
Darn it.
We'll get it next
Yes.
time. Yes. I want to see the tin can.
I forgot to. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
off the cuff.
No. I remember us talking about the tin.
Yes. I forgot to bring the tin can. And it was right there on the counter too, to bring today.
Oh, really?
Yes. I put it on the counter this morning.
Okay. It's taking one step in the right direction.
Yes.
So next time it'll be here.
Yes. So I will hopefully remember to bring it next week.
No, that's great.
I'll have to give you my cell phone number so you can text me.
Please do.
Definitely.
And that's like the physical evidence of the estate plan right there. It's like, anything and everything that was in there. And like you said, he was military, right? So he's, he had everything all figured out, worked out and everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think, people who, unfortunately, we, even people in their 20s or 30s, they're recently married, have a young child or something like that, there's value to doing an estate planning, because of course you never know what's going to happen. But, really, obviously, considering the longevity and everything, in your 60s, is when we see a lot of our clients, maybe their late 50s or something, where we talk about a will, which is obviously the last will and testament that tells, how your estates, your assets are going to be handled, your car, your vehicle, your boats, your homes, your properties, all those things, how those things are going to be dictated. We talk about designations of healthcare surrogates, which is basically a medical power of attorney, which allows someone else to make decisions for your healthcare. God forbid you're not in a place to do that. A designation of pre-need guardianship. So, if you find yourself getting, unfortunately, in an Alzheimer's position or a dementia situation or something like that, where, the person, obviously, is still alive and kicking, and, you want to take care of them, and they have probably many years left, you need to have some type of guardianship in place. So they have what we call a designation of pre-need guardianship. So you, ahead of time, before, God forbid, something were to happen where you needed a guardianship, you would have designated the person you trust the most to handle you and everything else. We also obviously do powers of attorney as well, which gives somebody the authority to do financial work on their behalf. And then finally is the living will, which is basically the do not resuscitate. If I'm in a vegetative state, and I think Anne Hesh was in the actress was in a fiery crash last week, and she was in her mid 50s, and they kept her on life support long enough to organ donate for her and everything. But obviously, at some point, they knew she was brain dead. And so you don't want to necessarily keep, yourself alive in a vegetative state for perpetuity just because you're connected to a cord. So that living will is the document that determines that. So it's interesting.
Now, what happens if somebody doesn't have a living will? They're in a vegetative state, and there really is no hope.
Right.
And the children are there.
Yeah.
How does that work? Because obviously there was nothing signed off on for them to not be on I had a DNR on my dad.
Yeah.
My dad, set that all up.
Sure.
But unfortunately, when he went into cardiac arrest, they couldn't find it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So what did they do in that instance?
They had to try to save him.
Okay.
Yeah. They had to try to save him as much as they could.
Yeah.
But
It's crazy.
what happens for somebody that doesn't have that particular form,
Yeah.
and you've got a couple of kids or even one kid? Can that child make that decision,
Yeah.
or does the doctor make the call?
I mean, the doctor obviously has a lot of authority, and they usually have, try and get the decision makers on board and everything. But at some point, I mean, this is why they had the big Terry Schiavo case, 20 years ago or so, is so that someone, there was a fight between the husband and the parents about whether or not to keep this lady on life support and everything. So, I mean, at some point, if there is some type of dispute, maybe there ends up becoming litigation involved because of that issue. Or in hopefully the parties come to an agreement, and like the doctors and the hospitals and the general counsel on the hospital staff come to some type of assurance that they feel like they have the authority to make that decision. So it gets to be a gray area sometimes, and it can put the hospitals in a bit of a bind for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good information.
Yeah, it's wild. That's why we're off the cuff here. So
Wow.
it's good. Yeah, absolutely. So we definitely always looking to find ways to do it. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a minute or so, and with more Legal Off the Cuff. Hello. Thanks again so much, everyone. This is Travis Walker, Law Offices of Travis R. Walker. Visit us at traviswalkerlaw.com or call us at 772-708-0952. Again, at 772-708-0952. Love to chat with you. Mention this radio show, get you a free consult, help you guide you through some whatever legal obstacles you or a loved one are going through, and make sure that we're all on the same page. And one of the practice areas we do at our office is divorce, and divorce is a big thing, and especially we're seeing post COVID, maybe like people who have some level of certainty that they're not going to be put back in their house, or if they are going to be put back in their house, they certainly don't want to be put back with that person. So we're seeing. So it's off the cuff. We're good. So so we are seeing like an uptick in divorce filings or paternity filings as well, because what we're seeing, especially with the younger generation, is that they're not necessarily looking to get married, but they are looking to play house together. They are looking to have children together and basically do everything except get married and everything. So we are seeing a number of paternity actions being filed, a number of divorce actions being filed, because people are, breaking up and maybe realizing they only have one life to live and they don't want to live it with that other person as well. So we're, definitely seeing an uptick in that. I was talking with, another attorney in the office, and I think the analogy was perfect, is that, a lot of people think that divorce is a 50-50 thing, and it's like a cake, and then you slice it right down the middle, and then one side gets this and one side gets that. But in reality, divorce is basically you take a baseball bat to the cake and just hit it right down the middle, and then splat, it kind of goes everywhere. So it's not clean, fun and easy. I mean, say for instance, like, I'm dealing with, retirement accounts. And so there was a retirement account that was established before the marriage. So some of that was premarital, and then during the marriage, contributions were made to the retirement account, so that could arguably be marital. And then, but then one of the person who owned the account arguably, took money out of the retirement account during the marriage for their own benefit. So is that a credit against them for, the retirement account should have accrued more? So there's, even with a retirement account, it just straight down the middle, it's not just always quite that easy. And there are arguments, because otherwise people do, funny stuff like, they'll take money out, or they'll divorce plan, or we call it marital waste, where, someone goes in and basically goes to Vegas and blows $2 million at the baccarat table or something like that, or craps or something like that. And it's like, oh, sorry, that 2 million that we were going to split down the middle is now 10 grand or something like that. So
Wow.
you can't just go and do that. It's just like the same thing with bankruptcy. Like, you can't go like rack up your credit cards the day before filing for bankruptcy and then expect it, like the bankruptcy, to go through. I mean, otherwise everybody would do that. So you can't do divorce planning, you can't do that type of stuff. So it's not necessarily that quite that easy. It is the exploding cake. And even with kids, it's the same way. Like, everybody thinks there's this presumption that there's 50-50 time sharing, for moms and dads these days or whatever. And that's not the case. There's nothing out there. There's nothing in the law says that you have to do 50-50, or there's a presumption really that there's 50-50. What the presumption is, or what the standard is for the courts, is what is in the best interest of the children. And, I think that from a psychological standpoint, there's arguments, of course, to be made that, kids should be 50-50 with mom and dad. And of course, the courts are going to take that into consideration, but the courts also take into consideration, another schedule that I see a lot of is every other weekend and then one day during the week. So like, mom will have the kids every day of the week except for Wednesday, and then the following week we'll have it Wednesday, and the father will have them the weekend. So that's like really like 3 or 4, 10 and 4. So it's like 10 nights with mom, 4 nights with dad, or something like that. So like, there are like scenarios that play out, and often that's obviously important in long distance, because if even if you have somebody in Broward County and someone in St. Lucie County, like, doing 50-50 time sharing is a pain.
Then also you get the holidays that come into play too with that situation.
Correct.
Don't you?
Yes.
Like on the even years, mom gets them on Christmas. On the odd years, dad gets them on Christmas.
Yes.
You have the appropriate holidays: Father's Day, Mother's Day. Obviously, Father's Day, the dad gets them, and Mother's Day, the mom gets them.
Correct.
So there's things like that are to contend with too, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So like, and you can be creative with it too. Some people, like, they say, like, because I think some cultures really, really value Christmas Eve. And so like, it's super important for that person to get Christmas Eve, where they don't care about Christmas Day so much. Or the flip side of it, Christmas Day is a huge issue. Or obviously, there's or if you have a mixed family where there's Judaism and Christianity or something involved, maybe one of them values Christmas more than the other, or something like that. And so you can play off of that, and there's all of that can be negotiated out. And as long as the parties can come to an agreement, that's great. But like, I've got divorces that are in the firm that have been going on for 2 or 3 years sometimes, just because they just can't seem to make things work. Or the other side is just completely obstinate and ridiculous, and just won't be reasonable. So that's the constant. And from a lawyer's perspective, we're looking out for our client's best interests. And it's like, so on one hand, you have, I want you to get this divorce resolved, or I want to get you this family law issue resolved as quickly as I possibly can, as cheaply as I possibly can. However, I also don't want you to roll over and have something you're going to have, buyer's remorse on, or like, if you've got a 5-year-old and you're going to try and lock in a parenting plan for 13 years and it's completely off the reservation, you're going to have to live with that for 13 years. And I don't want to put you in that situation if you don't think you can live with it. And my crystal ball tells me at least what I think the court is going to do in that situation. So that's part of the weighing balance as a lawyer, we're constantly doing. And that's a huge issue, because and that's it, a lot of big part of what we do. And that's why, like, even, yes, child support is basically primarily the income of the parties, which, again, you get in the income parties, you have like realtors. So what is the realtor's income? Was it last month, or was it a moving average over the last 12 months? Because, as anyone knows, a realtor could make 10-20 grand one month and nothing the next month or something. So like, then that's where the lawyers come into play, and we have a little bit of fun with, like, what is the actual income? Or, so this person got bonuses. Is that bonus, should that bonus be included included in their income for child support purposes, or was that like a one-shotter where like they got like a nice big lump sum bonus or something, but there's real no guarantee that that's going to happen again.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Somebody comes into a relationship.
Mhm.
John Doe comes into a relationship and they bring assets that they have accumulated
Yes.
in a prior life,
Yeah.
we'll say.
Yep.
Do those assets become part of the new relationship? Can the wife have access to those assets if that marriage splits apart?
Mm-hmm. Great question. So like what I see a lot of is like one either the husband or wife or the boyfriend girlfriend, one of them buys a house and then they get married, and it was only in one of their house in one of their names beforehand. And then there's a big difference between if you buy a house and then you get married and then you just keep one of you know you don't change the title. It's just you, the person who originally purchased the property. Let's say John bought the property before the marriage. He marries Jane. They get married. He never puts Jane on the deed, and then they get divorced. There's a big difference there between, as opposed to if John buys the property, then John and Jane get married, and then John, because he loves Jane, wants to put her on title to the property, and then later they get divorced. You know, two totally different situations happen simply because he put her on the deed while they were married. So there becomes a presumption, and he's got himself in a briar patch in a way, because he's put her on the deed and now he's trying to escape out of it. But he's, unfortunately, he put a whole bunch of money into the property, and everything else. So it's a great question. It depends on how the husband and wife, or how the parties really, what they do with that asset.
Right.
If you start using marital funds to build a fence for the house, if you have a boat, you both own a boat, and then like you change out, you do a refurb of the boat and stuff like that, but you use marital funds to refurb the boat, then you get into this commingling aspect. And then like it's kind of like like the Blob or something from the 50s movie or something like that. All of a sudden it starts to encroach on things, and then like all of a sudden you find it's all over the freaking place. So, it's a big mess.
Oops. Off the cuff,
as always.
Off the cuff.
So yeah, no, it's a big mess. And so like, yeah, I mean, it's that's why it's like, and the great thing about, our country is that we have marriage, and it's a foundational part of it. And it's such a huge thing. I'm married, I've got 2 kids. I got a 13-year-old and a 7-year-old. And I think it's a great institution. It's a great thing. But, if you're in a marriage and you don't think it's going to work out, or you have questions or whatever. I mean, we do prenuptial agreements, we do postnuptial agreements, and, you never know what can tell or whatever, is going to happen. So, being prepared for that is a huge issue.
Now, a prenup will prevent a lot of things and a lot of dirty things, so to speak, from happening, because a prenup is basically stating that XYZ will get this and XYZ will get that, just if divorce was to happen.
Right.
If the dirty D word happens.
The dirty D word.
Then it's already
Dirty
been
D.
predetermined.
Yeah.
Who gets what.
Right.
That's what a prenup basically is, right?
Yes, exactly. And that goes back to kind of what we were talking about in the beginning part of the show, was this elective share where you can't necessarily carve out your wife, except if you have a prenuptial agreement. Then that kind of spells that out. You can kind of prevent that elective share thing from happening.
Oh, so you can carve your wife out, is what you're saying.
There are some exceptions.
There is a way to carve her out.
There's always a but, right? There is a but.
There is a way to carve her out. Okay.
You can't carve your wife out generally, but if you have a prenuptial agreement, there may be
you can carve her out in a roundabout way.
In a roundabout way. But the thing about prenuptial agreements that you have to be careful for, and like people like try to be creative and funny and stuff with it, is like they really kind of have to be reasonable. Like you can't just like force your spouse to like sign a prenuptial agreement that's completely one-sided.
Right.
The other thing is that prenuptial agreements are often videotaped. The signings are just for purposes later on, if God forbid if the thing blows up and you have to have evidence that they had counsel, that they had the ability to understand what was going on. So that's a big part of it as well. And then if you've ever been in a family law case, that you have to file what we call a financial affidavit. And so even with a prenup, you really need to do those financial affidavits or financial disclosures, because if you don't, that might cause the prenup to blow up, because the other side could say, Well, had I known that he had a $10 million brokerage account, I would have probably negotiated a little bit differently.
Mm,
So, like,
okay.
you see what I'm saying?
Okay.
It can cause the whole thing to blow up, and so it's important to make sure you go through the process, and just like a deed, some people will just try to draft up a prenup, to try and get it done and just get it done cheaply and everything. But sometimes it's not worth the paper that it's written on, which can be frustrating for people at times.
A prenup is nothing more than just a bunch of words typed on a piece of paper with two signatures and a couple of witnesses
Mhm.
stating, you get this, I get that.
Yeah.
That's really all it is in layman's simple terminology.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's correct. And I mean, like, if someone's been blessed enough, or they've been, in lucky enough, to have a family that has significant assets and everything, that family is obviously, I'm sure a lot of times they want to embrace the new spouse and everything else like that. But at the same time, they have their concerns and everything, which are often well founded. I mean, as we all know, just about half of all marriages end in divorce. And so, it's like a coin flip, whether or not it's going to happen or not. And people change over time. I've handled divorces where people have been married 40 or 50 years, then all of a sudden they're getting a divorce, which sometimes blows your mind. It's like, okay, you put up with them for 40 or 50 years or something like that. What happened this time? To happen as to cause, but or maybe it was just something broke the straw that broke the camel's back or whatever. You can never tell. But yeah, I mean, you never know how it's going to work out. But then, we also do postnuptial agreements. So, like, say for instance, you get married and then you almost have a falling out, or you almost have a divorce, or one of the parties wants to leave. And instead of going through divorce, they kind of reconcile and they say, okay, let's plan ahead. God forbid this really does go forward, and make the divorce a little bit easier. Let's plan how we're going to do the assets and liabilities and everything else like that, so that we don't have to worry about it later.
Mm.
Sometimes I think that's like a post affair type of thing. Like, if you're going,
Be careful how you use that word affair. Post affair.
post affair,
Somebody may take that the wrong way.
post affair,
right?
Yeah, it could be. You never know. It could create a cluster. That's
right.
for sure.
Right.
So yeah, no, you gotta. It's all careful.
Yeah.
But we do handle both of those. So if you have any questions regarding divorce or family law, or prenups or postnups or anything, call our office 772-708-0952. Again, that's 772-708-0952, or visit us at traviswalkerlaw.com. We're going to take another quick break, but we'll be back and chat a little bit more about legal off the cuff. All right. This is Travis Walker again with Legal Off the Cuff. Your opportunity to talk with me, if you have any questions, is via WSTU 220 WSTU 220-9788. Or if you want to take your conversations offline, love to do a free consultation with you. 772-708-0952. Again, that's 772-708-0952. do a free consultation for you, or visit us at traviswalkerlaw.com. It is a $185 consult value if you do so. So it's definitely worth you mentioning the radio show and doing what we can there to make sure that you're getting the absolute best value possible from this show and then from our office. And so our office is we have 8 attorneys in the office. We, each one kind of does their own little niche there. We have a real estate attorney, a probate estate planning attorney, a business attorney, an accident, a personal injury attorney, and 2 divorce attorneys, really, and family law attorneys, because that is a big part of our practice. And then we have someone who handles adoptions as well. So it's a big part of our practice, and a lot of what we do is family law, which is why we talk about family law so much. And we do have a number of grandparents who are basically trying to help out their children who are caught in a bad spot, with a custody battle. We have a number of people who are taking care of their grandchildren, because unfortunately the children are not in a good spot, whether it's a substance abuse or something along those lines. We want to make sure that that they're taken care of. So we do a lot of temporary custody agreements, or emergency guardianships, or emergency custodies, or emergency pickup orders, those types of things, if there's ever a need to do so. In those unfortunate circumstances, I often, refer to myself sometimes as the funeral director. I, I don't necessarily, I know you don't want to be talking to me.
Cue the funeral music up.
Dun, dun.
Right.
Yeah. So, I know you don't want to talk to me. I know you don't want to hang out with me, but I'm here for you when you need me to. Because I know that you're going through definitely a difficult situation, and it's just like a funeral director has to help someone guide them through the burial process and everything. We're here to help guide you through some challenging legal experiences. So, but adoptions are actually one of the happier things that we do. It's an opportunity. It's probably the happiest time ever in a courthouse. The opportunity for a child to find legal parents. Oftentimes we do contested adoptions where there's arguably one of the parents has abandoned the child or whatever, and someone's petitioning to have custody of to be the adoptive parent and everything. But it obviously helps out a lot if the biological mother and biological father are on board with the adoption. Makes things a lot more smooth, because essentially the way that the state of Florida sees it is being a parent is a constitutional right. Which is why there's always been a strong battle between grandparents' rights and the parents' rights and everything, because there is such a strong presumption, like basically a constitutional right, that the parents have a right to be a parent, which is why, just like you have a right, they say you have a constitutional right to have counsel if you are charged with a crime. There's really two major places where the state will appoint someone counsel for free if they're indigent. One is a public defender, if you're charged with a crime. The second is basically an attorney to represent you if the Department of Children and Families is trying to terminate your parental rights. So those are two of the times when you're going to find that the state will appoint and pay for counsel for those indigents. Obviously, just like with a public defender, a lot of there's nothing against the public defender's office, but some people prefer not to have a public defender. They want to go and buy their own, pay for their own criminal defense attorney. Same thing can happen in those dependency cases. If someone's being, is potentially having their parental rights terminated, they too also have the right to have their own private counsel, which is what we call a dependency attorney, which is also what our law firm does. It's under our umbrella of family law, which is an important thing, because obviously, once your parental rights are terminated, or once someone's parental rights are terminated, they're essentially a stranger to that child from a legal standpoint, which can be a very sad proposition. And it's but once it's done, it's done. And that's why being involved in a dependency action or terminating parental rights for an adoption is a huge deal. And it's really hard to unwind that once it's happened. I mean, you'll see people who try to set aside their consent to an adoption or something along those lines. But obviously the courts don't want a child to be dragged out into the courts and then thrown back and forth between different potential parents and everything else. Like, they want some level of certainty and stability for that child, so that the law really provides that it's really strong for that to happen. So there's a lot of kids out there that need to be adopted, but there is definitely a process by which it has to happen, and we're happy to help out. So if you know someone who's looking to adopt or is in the middle of an adoption case or something like that, they need a little bit of help or guidance, happy to chat with them. 772-708-0952 is the office number. Again, that's 772-708-0952, or visit us at traviswalkerlaw.com. Love to chat with them about that and see if we can help them out and get them through the process as quickly and easily as possible. And try to be as inexpensive as possible. As long as you don't have a lot of people who are contesting the adoption, oftentimes it can be done relatively quickly. So that's a great thing, and a big part of our family law practice. And the other part of our family law practice is, we obviously, a lot of people don't get involved with paternity actions or anything until the Department of Revenue gets involved. And as if anybody's who have ever dealt with the Department of Revenue, it's a machine, and once you get locked in the machine with child support, it's a big issue. And oftentimes people don't get into the Department of Revenue, child support machine until one of the parents actually applies for food stamps or Medicaid or benefits or something, and then all of a sudden, the Department of Revenue wants to find some pocket to do it, because obviously we as taxpayers don't necessarily need to be fronting those costs and everything. So the Department of Revenue will go after that spouse, if that potential parent, if they can identify who it is, and try to recoup those costs. So we get calls often from people who've gotten a notice from the Department of Revenue that they're looking to garnish their wages, or they're trying to collect on the child support and everything else. And so we've handled those calls as well, because you could potentially lose your driver's license if you don't pay your child support. So that's an issue.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Just something just popped in my mind. This is probably a crazy scenario.
It's off the cuff.
It's off the cuff. Let's say you have a mom and a dad.
Yes.
They have a child.
Yes.
They're not sure if the child is the dad's.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is where I know paternity comes in.
Yes.
They've split apart.
Yes.
And the supposed dad has been paying in to support that child.
Mm-hmm.
Then paternity has been established.
Yes.
To find out that it's not biologically that person's child.
Right.
And he was ordered to pay in as child support.
Yes.
What happens?
That's a tough situation, because on one hand,
does he get his money back? Can he recoup his money?
That's a great question. And you got me thinking here a little bit, because I'm thinking it can go one of two ways. I really haven't dealt with that directly, but I think that, basically the way that the system is set up is it's not for the parent or whatever, it's basically for the child. So
right.
the state really takes the position that hey, this child needs to be supported. We don't care who it's supported by, as long as it's supported. And
right.
we're not going to take out the money and go back and edit things.
And I mean, they've garnished this guy's wages. Let's just say hypothetically.
Yeah.
This is not a true scenario, but it's just something that popped in my head.
It's a real thing, though. It happens more often. I mean, I forgot, because I'm in the family law world, so I get these weird family law like statistics and stuff. I want to say 10 to 20% of kids are born they think that dad's 80% of the time it is dad, but 10 to 20% of the time or something like that, it's not the dad you think it is.
I mean, this guy's making ends meet, we'll say, makes like $400 a week, $500 a week.
Yeah.
And they're taking out of his check. They've split up. They're taking out of his check.
Yep.
The state's taking the money out. And then all of a sudden he's like, I want paternity.
Yeah.
Because he thinks that the other one's been sleeping around.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he finds out it's not your child.
Yeah.
As Maury Povich would say.
You are not the father.
You're right. You are not the father. Exactly. So now he's lost all this money towards a child that's not biologically his. What happens?
I'm 70% sure, and this is why lawyers have to do research, because sometimes there's a question and we have to find the nuances with it and everything. But I'm about 70% sure that because the child support goes to the child, because you always hear the stories of dad's pissed because he thinks that he's given mom $1,000 a month so she can get a boob job or something like that. Right. It's not for mom to go get a boob job, although she might go and do that.
Right.
From a public policy standpoint, that money is the child's.
Right.
So, at that point, my thought process is, if that's the thought process of the state, that money is for the child. Therefore, I'm so sorry, the child's not going to reimburse you for, you didn't pay. So this is an excellent example of if you do question the paternity, if you do think that maybe I'm not the father, maybe you need to take a look into that. because my hallucination, my thought process is that there's going to be a strong possibility that you're not going to get that money back.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like, I think it's
That's a shell shock.
there's like some rap song is like, something like on the 18th birthday, he found it wasn't his or something like that. So
Yeah.
like, 18 years of like supporting a child or something like that,
Yeah.
to find out that it's not yours is like, would
Wow.
just mind
Now, what
blowing.
about in another case where you have a dad that's paying child support?
Mhm.
He's doing everything he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Okay. The two parents live in different states.
Yes.
Okay. The dad wants to see his daughter,
Yes.
but the mom refuses to let the dad see the daughter.
Yes.
Won't divulge where she lives.
Wow.
Won't let the daughter come to the dad on vacation when he's supposed to get her. Just completely, the mom is just being a complete, you know what?
Pain in the butt.
Yeah, pain in the butt.
There you go.
So what do you do in what happens in cases like that when the two parents are out of state and the dad's doing what he's supposed to do,
Yeah.
paying that money every single month?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, and that's the thing is like, you can't trade visitation for child support and vice versa. I mean, but in like, so that's a great question because we get it all the time
Mhm.
and then it's obviously alienation of the parental relationship. So like we do have moms or dads who will take off and like not say where the kid's at, not provide phone calls, basically just disappear and then try to like, prevent access to the child as much as possible.
Mhm.
And that's what we call alienation. And so that's another reason why it's important to get these things established because if the reason why you go to court for paternity is you want to get a time sharing plan, a parenting plan, so that it's court enforced, ordered, and you can basically you can file a contempt motion against somebody.
I was just going to ask you that. Can the mom be held in contempt? Can she lose custody of the kids? And can the dad gain custody of the child because of this?
Yes. Yes. So like,
Wow.
because like, I mean, that parental, I mean, absent, dad or mom being like a sex offender or something like that, I've seen like some terrible stuff where like, dad or mom is a complete off the reservation drug addict and stuff like that.
Right.
But until the point where like DCF gets involved and really says like you can't see your kid, like there's a presumption you get the right to see your kid.
Mhm.
And so obviously we work with those types of cases as well to prevent that type of thing happening because having dad or mom heroin addict, drugged out, not a good thing for the kid.
Mhm.
And so, but yeah, I mean, like if it's just a stable mom and dad, and mom or dad is just completely jealous and like just emotionally off the reservation, they can't alienate the child. They can't prevent that relationship with the other parent from occurring.
They can't use the child as a pawn.
They can, but like that's when I come in with
They can.
They
Okay.
can't. Well, they can, but that's when
Okay.
I come in with a big bat and say, this is mom or dad being a complete
Right.
jerk.
Right.
And like, and if you get the right judge, the judge will say, yeah, you're a big jerk. You can't support this family relationship. Therefore, yeah, you had custody. Boom. We're actually giving it to the other side.
So the judge can flip it.
The judge can definitely flip it.
Okay.
Because like, and that's what people don't understand is like, that's such a gray area. The best interest of the child.
Right.
Like, what is that? But like, I think a lot of judges really see if you're being a jerk and you're not preventing and allowing access for the child to the other side. And if you're being totally controlling and being, a dick, like you just can't, do that, So like, I mean, you can't, and it's frustrating and upsetting for me because I see this all the time. And it's like this, you're ruining this child's like childhood and its life by not allowing it to have the relationship it needs to with one of the parents. And it's just terribly unfortunate. And I see it all the time, but if you get that in front of the court, I think a lot of judges are going to say, no, that is, totally inappropriate. You do not have the skills as a parent to make sure that this child is getting a great, upraising because
Mhm.
you're not allowing it to have a
Yeah.
relationship with the other side, with
Yeah.
the other parent.
I could say one thing. If I ever were to need legal services for what the different things that you do,
Yeah.
you're my go-to guy
I appreciate
because you're so off the cuff.
it. So off the cuff.
Honestly, that's the best part about this.
Yeah, no, it's and we're vamping. We're I almost feel like it's like I love jazz and like
Yeah.
I played trombone and jazz band in college
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And so you're vamping and you're just like kind of going with the groove and everything else like that. And so that's what this is. Just and like to talk about product liability that's going on. a lot of family law, because obviously there's a lot of issues with that, wills, probate, and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Because it's juicy at times, but it's also like, there's real value to people because they're dealing with situations where, that's happening. So
Have you ever thought about writing a book?
that would be pretty cool.
Seriously, and you call it Off the Cuff.
That would be, I mean, that's a great idea. I like it. I do like that.
I mean, you should seriously.
And they make it real easy these days to write a book.
Yeah.
Like you just probably speak into a microphone like this, and then they kind of like,
Well, you dictate. You just dictate, and it goes to I mean, I have a friend of mine, one of my closest, dearest friends. His wife wrote 2 mysteries, and they sell on Amazon, and she's a self-author.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah,
and then
it was very simple.
And the Amazon wrote the book and everything for her?
She penned everything, and then she sent it off to a publishing house, and they did, everything. They put the whole book together for her. Well, you should seriously think about writing a book.
I think so.
Called Off the Cuff.
Off the Cuff
by attorney Travis Walker.
I like it. I'm gonna run with that. I mean, I'll give you credit.
All right. No, I just want the forward.
Just the forward.
Just give me the forward.
I'll get special thanks to Evan.
Right. I just want the forward.
Yes.
That's all.
Perfect.
That's all I
works
want.
great for me. Awesome. So yeah, no, definitely. It's if you do want to contact our office, you want to talk to this crazy man at the microphone who's off the cuff, it's Travis Walker, the law offices of Travis R. Walker. Visit us at traviswalkerlaw.com or call us at 772-708-0952. Again, that's 772-708-0952. Mention this radio show, get a free consultation. It's $185 value. Or, next time we're on the air, because we're about to go off, call us at 220-WSTU. Again, that's 220-9788. We have the great honor and privilege of serving the Treasure Coast area and are located right here in the heart of Stuart on US 1. In the old Helping People Succeed building, close to Flanagan's, and it's a great place. We have some great conference rooms, and I believe we have a great location for consultations. Or we don't just do in office consultations. If you just want to set up a phone consultation, we're happy to do that. Or of course, in the world of Zoom, we do Zoom consultations. I think I have a Zoom consultation later today. And so people, we're happy to assist and provide the least friction possible to help you get the legal needs and legal advice that you need in order to really weigh out your options and figure out what the best solutions possible are for you. So totally grateful for the opportunity to speak with you. Don't hesitate to reach out just if you have any questions. We're here on Thursdays at 9 a.m. Doing this legal off the cuff. If you even have a topic you think would be something for us to kind of vamp on a little bit, love to hear it. You don't have to come in and call. You can email me at traviswalker@traviswalkerlaw.com, or visit us at traviswalkerlaw.com. There's plenty of forms to submit the information to. It says, hey Travis, why don't you go talk about cell phones and their ability to cause brain cancer or something like that. I'll give it a go. That's my philosophy as a lawyer is you tell me where you want to get to. I'll tell you what it's going to take to get there. I'll tell you what my crystal ball says and everything, and we'll give it a go. So thank you again, everyone, so much for listening. Travis Walker, law offices of Travis R. Walker, 772-708-0952. Visit us at traviswalkerlaw.com. Y'all have a great day.